The In Conversation podcast series with author Nigel Beckles.
Welcome to the podcast.
Please like the podcast and subscribe to this channel. Thank you.
Have you experienced several failed relationships or been through a divorce? How can you avoid making the same mistakes again? How to avoid making the big relationship mistakes is out now.
Hi, my name is Nigel Beckles. My new book is packed with practical and common sense strategies that you can use to make better relationship choices.
Now you can discover the dangerous myths about love. If your relationship expectations are realistic, why you could be falling in love for all the wrong reasons.
How to avoid making the big relationship mistakes. It's a book that could change your life.
Available from amazon.co.uk. Kindle version also available.
Please join us for the very first Indie Pods United Convention. This online event is for both new and veteran podcasters, where we will listen and learn from each other. The online Indie Pods United Convention begins on the 29th November through until the 3rd of December 2020, featuring amazing shows and information to learn more about the great world of podcasting. For more information and to register for this unmissable event, please visit the website now, indiepodsunited.com. Indie Pods United Convention. Together we listen.
Welcome back to my In Conversation podcast series. My guest for this episode is an entrepreneur and the creator of the concept of Retirement Reinvention, Canadian Marie Cummings. Hi Anne, welcome to my podcast series. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you very much for asking.
Whereabouts do you live at the moment?
I live in a little town called Cobourg. It's about an hour outside of Toronto, Canada.
So did you grow up there?
No, I grew up in Ottawa, which is the capital of Canada, for most of my life, for most of my childhood and part of my adult life. And then I moved to Toronto when I was 25.
So what was your childhood like? Interesting? Enjoyable?
It was really enjoyable, actually. My mother is from a family of 13. So I was surrounded by 40 cousins, lots of aunts and uncles, lots of people who cared and liked to have fun. So it was a great childhood.
I understand you're involved in Retirement Reinvention. So what is that?
What I was involved in previously was just reinventing myself. So I like to do new things. I like to learn new things. And I like to just go off and experience all that life has to offer. So most of my life I've done that. And then when I went to retire, I knew that I wouldn't be happy just staying idle. So I looked for things that I thought would make me happy in retirement. And what I found was that I really love interior design. And at the time, Toronto was, and it still is actually, the housing market was skyrocketing. So I decided to take a course on how to renovate and flip houses. And that gave me the opportunity to use my creative side and then also to make some additional money. So I said to myself, I will do this for 1 year. I was still working in the technology industry, but in the evenings and weekends, I tried flipping houses. And I gave myself 1 year to replace my technology income with real estate income. And I was successful, so I retired. And just before I retired, I talked to a lot of other people who were about to retire or who were newly retired. And they seemed to be lacking something because their identity was no longer the same. So they were feeling like they had lost a big part of who they were. So if they were a lawyer, they're no longer a lawyer, they're not practicing law, and they didn't feel a sense of purpose. And the more I talked to people about that, the more I realized that was a pretty common thing. And so I set out to do some research on why that happens and how to ensure it doesn't happen. And with that research, I started writing the book. What Retirement Reinvention is really just going from where you are before you retire to where you want to be and using a process to get there.
Well, you mentioned flipping houses, which I assume is your current business venture. So what does flipping houses actually involve?
Well, right now, I've flipped numerous houses, but right now I'm in the middle of restoring a heritage mansion in Cobourg. It's down the street from where I live. So at 10,000 square feet, and it was basically a dilapidated property in January of this year. So I purchased it and started the process of restoring it. And we're about 4 weeks away from finishing. So that it's a day-to-day job. I'm there every single day working with the contractors, creating the design, working through some of the challenges. And then I'll in this particular case, I'm not going to sell it. I'm actually going to fill it with people who are 55 plus who don't want to live alone, but they want to live in a really nice environment. So that's the next step after it's finished.
But when you are flipping houses on a regular basis, is that a complicated process?
It's not easy, and it certainly isn't for the faint of heart. My split that I did, I actually had the contractor go AWOL on me and didn't finish the process, didn't finish the work he was contracted to do, and sued me. So that was a process that was very difficult and still underway, and it's been about 3 years. But in the long run, I did sell the house, I did make money, and I moved on to buy and sell others that were really successful and didn't have those challenges with those properties.
Do you find the flipping houses industry male dominated?
Oh, definitely. The industry is very male dominated. So I'm just used to that. The technology industry, especially when I started in the 80s, I was one of the only females, both as a client and as a salesperson. So I'm used to being in a male dominated industry, and it doesn't really faze me too much.
So as a female, what enticed you to get involved in house flipping then?
Well, the creative part is interesting. I love design, and the money part, there's a lot of money to be made in. So just to be candid.
Well, money's always good. Your first book was published in 2018. So what is that called and what is it about?
So the book is called Baby Boomer Bonding, A Luxurious and Meaningful Life. So the book is about really helping people transition from their current position as whatever they're doing in their career to retirement. There's two components of the book. One is to help people transition, and the other is to talk about home sharing. So there's two elements of the book. For me, it's really important that people surround themselves with a community, especially at this time, because this is the biggest transition of your life. I personally think it's the best time of our life. I don't have a boss now. My children are grown. I don't have any, clients to worry about. So I think it's really the best time. It's a time for me that I can do anything I want, and people can have a lot more freedom. But they don't see it that way. A lot of people see it as it's the last phase of their life. They're getting older, and they see that as a negative thing. And I actually see it as a really positive thing.
So, Anne, what are your plans for the future?
Well, they've changed a little bit since COVID, but the house will be finished in 4 weeks. I'm severing, it was a very large property that the house was on. So I've severed a lot off that property, and I'm going to build a second house on it. I'm also just got engaged, so I'm getting married soon. So that's a reinvention in itself.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Being single for 15 years, it's certainly a transition, but a very good one. And then one of the other plans I had, and it's going to be on hold for a little bit, is I plan to do what I call a marigold mansion or community sharing, home sharing project in Italy. And I was there last spring and did find some properties that I wanted to work with. But since then, we've had our challenges, and that plan is on the back burner at the moment.
So, Anne-Marie Cummings, how can people contact you?
You can contact me at AnneMarieCummingsEvents.com. All of my information is there. That's usually the best place.
Well, Anne, thank you very much for your time. Very much appreciated.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
If you are interested in being a guest on the In Conversation podcast series, please visit the website author.NigelBeckelsPodcast.com. Thanks.
Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe. Another In Conversation podcast coming soon.